end justifies the means. They just want him up there because he's going to support their left-wing communist socialist agenda, their diabolically evil, godless agenda. And you see that actually in the hypocrisy of these Supreme Court hearings, because they would not listen. The Democrats would not be complaining about Amy Coney Barrett if she sided with them on these issues. It's all about politics, and it's just hypocrisy for them to pretend otherwise.
This is C. Mitchell Shaw reporting for The New American. Joining us today is Father Altman of La Crosse, Wisconsin, who's done a recent series of YouTube videos addressing liberalism within the Catholic Church as it relates to politicians like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, who claim to be Catholics in good standing, but are actually anything but. Welcome to the program, Father.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
So your most recent, or the first video you did in this series was titled, subtly, You Cannot Be a Catholic and a Democrat, period.
Yeah.
It's got over 1 million views, 40,000 plus likes, and about 3,000 people who didn't like it. What was it like for you, Father, to do a video like that and see over 1 million people sort of migrate to your video and have it resonate with them the way it did?
Yeah. I said it before. I'll say it again. I certainly did not expect. Uh, I wondered who would even see it because it was on Alpha News, and I didn't think Alpha News had national or international reach, which it has. What it tells me, and what certain people don't seem to get, is that what 1,000 letters through normal mail have come and attested to, and countless emails, that there's a people out there, the truly faithful, who are hungry for someone to finally speak the truth because it has not been spoken for the last 50 years. And they want to hear the truth, and they want their shepherds to lead them. I mean, why? Since when is it courageous for someone to speak the truth? And since when shouldn't we? We've been told by the last 10 vicars of Christ about what the truth is and how it's affecting our public life in our nation, in our faith, and around the world. So what it tells me is that, because here's what I've been accused. Well, you're just you're divisive, or your manner and tone offends people. Well, you know what? A lot of people aren't offended, and the people who want to hear it happen to be the most faithful Catholics who actually know their faith. So it's about time some shepherds started feeding them instead of worried about the ones who aren't Catholic, like certain politicians. So, when Perez comes out, I think it was him, was the head of the Democratic National Committee, and he says you can't be Democrat and be pro-life. And I said, well, thank you very much, because you just made my case. Speaking like a lawyer.
Precisely, because you can't be Catholic and pro-abortion.
Exactly. But that's not rocket science.
Only because that's a dogma of not only because that's a dogma of the Catholic faith, or maybe perhaps not a dogma, but a teaching of the Catholic Church, but because you can't be a Christian and think it's okay to murder the unborn.
Yes. Yes. I didn't choose that
So
title, by the way. It just happened to be words that were in the video, but they were good. It was a good title. Certainly got people's attention.
It is a good title. And you've done 2 other videos since then. The second one was called Liberal Catholics Are Wolves in Sheep's Clothing. That one's had over 200,000 views. It's only been up a couple weeks now. 18,000 likes and a mere 290 dislikes or thumbs down. And then the third video in that series has only been out a couple days now. Progressives equals socialists equals communists. In just a couple days, you've had nearly 50,000 views on that. 5,300 people or more have said they like it, and a whole 46 people didn't like it. So clearly this resonates, as you say, with the faithful. Those who want to follow the teachings of Christ and want to preserve the sanctity of marriage and protect the unborn, this resonates with those true believers. You alluded to something a moment ago, Father, when you said the last 10 vicars of Christ or popes have condemned liberalism.
Those aren't the same, because Francis has thrown out that title. He's relegated it to the dustbin of history. So when I say vicars of Christ, I'm talking Pius IX through Benedict XVI, and I didn't include it. I could say 11, but Pope John Paul I is only there for about a month, and I don't think he had time to release a encyclical. But I'm confident, had he had time to do so, that he would be of a like mind in terms
Yes,
of evil of socialism.
these, these encyclicals, these were tacit condemnations of communism, socialism, and all other forms of Marxism. Is that correct, Father?
Well, they weren't tacit; they were straight on point. They were right in your face condemnations. There's nothing tacit about it. It was explicit. There's explicit. Is there a stronger word? I'd use it. I don't know one. They were in your face, absolutely, unequivocally. Even the most liberal of them all said you cannot be even a moderate socialist and be Catholic. So you know the people that don't like that, well then okay, you if you want to have your views, you go right ahead. All I'm saying is you can't be Catholic. I
Okay,
mean,
so
that's,
what does that mean, Father, that you can't be Catholic? So someone has, a cradle Catholic or a convert to the Catholic faith, someone who is a member of the Catholic Church, is, say a Nancy Pelosi, for instance.
yeah.
Is she or is she not Catholic? And in what sense is that true or not true?
Well, perhaps it's if you want to follow some strict definition, there is a saying out there that once a Catholic, always a Catholic. But you can, in fact, uh, profess such apostasy that you publicly that you leave the Catholic Church, and that's why when we're doing marriage preparation, people is have you ever publicly renounced the Catholic faith? Well, you can renounce it by a letter that says I renounce Catholic faith, or you can renounce it by taking public positions and holding to them contumaciously that are contrary to the truth, which is what they're doing. Uh, being Catholic means something. And when you have someone come into the Catholic Church, like at the Easter Vigil, they have to say, "I believe all the things that the Catholic Church teaches, which is nothing other than the truth handed down, unchanged, unchangeable for 2,000 years." But it's also what we say in in the Creed every Sunday. So you here's a way to actually discern, because what we're getting now is we're getting that heresy out there about the seamless garment. Listen, we can disagree on the just nature of any particular war, and both of us can still go to receive Holy Communion without being in grave sin. We're not leading others astray as we're trying to debate the issues, because it is, depending upon the facts of the case, wrong or right. Certain wars are just, some wars are not just. So similarly, we can disagree about the parameters of immigration. So there's an amount that we already have that's legal immigration, and then there's this illegal stuff that's on the table. And what should we do about that? You and I can disagree with that. We can still go to Holy Communion and because we're in a state of grace still. We have not sinned simply because we're debating the fine points of immigration. That's what Congress has been doing for like day one. And they still haven't, Democrats and Republicans alike, have not come up with a different plan than what we already have in place, and therefore there is still illegality. Now, we can't disagree about the illegality part about it, because the Catechism and of course the commandments say we must obey, and if we don't like the law as it stands, then we change it. But that doesn't affect our ability to go up and receive Holy Eucharist. However, there are 5 non-negotiables that are always and everywhere wrong, grave sin, one of which is abortion. So no Catholic, in fact, I would say no Christian, can disagree about this issue. You cannot support it in any way, shape, or form, as Kamala Harris does, as clearly evident in in those Supreme Court hearings, and you cannot go to Holy Communion. So Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, stay away from communion rail, right? Uh, don't need it. Like I say, don't pretend. Don't pretend you're Catholic, because you can't be Catholic and hold to those positions. You're a fake and you're an imposter. You're a pretender. You're masquerading as a Catholic. You are no more Catholic than the Dalai Lama. That's my favorite line, because
That's
it's true.
awesome. That's awesome. So what you're alluding to here are the 34, I think it's 34 points that the United States College of Catholic Bishops, the USCCB, if I've got all the initials right, the 34 points that they put all as if they're on an equal plane. Things like, as you mentioned, immigration, things like, as you mentioned, just war, And then they just throw abortion in there. Like, I remember growing up watching Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the others. You know, and this is
That
that. You know,
is
what
awesome.
one of these things is not like the others.
Yeah.
Fine, as you say, we can disagree about just war. We can disagree about whether we need to be involved in this military action or that war or whatever. And we can all be in good faith as we disagree about those things. We can disagree as to what degree we need to rethink our position on immigration and what illegal immigration is. And we can all be in good faith while we address those things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to abortion, this is not a matter for academic debate. This is not a matter for dissent. A true believer knows that it is wrong
Yes.
to murder the unborn.
They're the five non-negotiables. That and by the way, so I looked. I think there's 47, and I have to say, except for the fact that they directly point out that Joe Biden is. They use this phrase, not aligned with. No, contrary to, against the teaching of the Catholic Church on at least three of the non-negotiables. So one was abortion, one was cloning. I think it's euthanasia was another one. Same-sex marriage was another one. He's no more Catholic than the Dalai Lama. He is contrary to, absolutely against, uh, promotes for his entire career all those things. He's not Catholic. But then they throw in these other 42 or some odd number of minor stuff and say, well, okay, then they tally it down at the bottom as if it's simply a matter of who tallies the biggest score on all they just make up categories so that they make Biden's score look bigger and Trump's score look less. Listen, Trump scores perfectly, I think, on all the important stuff. So like you said, that was such a brilliant thing. I didn't know that, by the way. Somebody just taught me that business about on Sesame Street where they say what one thing is not like the others. I just learned that.
Right.
I didn't watch it when I was growing up.
Well,
Anyway, that's exactly right. Those things are not like the others. There's no such thing as a seamless garment, and any shepherd of the church who tries to propose that it is in grave error. It is not part of the teaching of the Catholic Church. That is a heresy that was started by Bernardine in the, I don't know, 70s or something like that. Wow. Leading the lambs astray. You know what Jesus and St. Paul had to say about that.
well, and yes, we do. And unfortunately, those of us who kind of followed this, we also know what your bishop had to say about your videos. Would you like to spend just a couple of minutes talking about your bishop's reaction
Yeah.
to these videos?
I really like Bishop Callahan. I do. And he that's why I have unlike most bishops in this country, he let us keep our churches open. He let us celebrate the mass with people present. He let us distribute Holy Communion. He let us baptize. He let us do everything that a priest should do, anoint the dying. There was never a question about this. And kudos to Bishop Callahan. uh, so I felt slightly stabbed in the back when this press release came out. um, so interestingly, uh, as you read it, it says that there's a group of people out there who are very vigorous in opposing the truth that I spoke. Now, that they can't actually say I didn't speak the truth. You know why? Because I did. And I'd be the first person to correct anything I said that was not true, because the last thing I'd want to do is is lead a lamb astray. So, and in fact, in this press release, he specifically said that I undeniably preached the truth. So, and he said that some people I don't know, want me to excommunicate him or something like you can't excommunicate somebody for preaching. Listen, if you can't excommunicate Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden for their support of murdering babies, it's preposterous for them to think that they can excommunicate me for speaking the truth. So, yeah, just the logic and understanding, that's not a strong point of the left. The Sorry, that's being sarcastic there.
No,
Anyway,
that's all right.
so he did. The thing is, so Martin S.J. Uh,
And this is
incited
Father
him.
Martin of the Jesuit order.
Well, I don't call him
That
father.
was,
No, I don't. I will
well,
not refer to him as father. He's
okay.
no father to any Catholic. Uh,
Fair enough. But this is the um, Catholic priest who has taken the side of every liberal cause that's come down the pike, from the LGBTQ, et cetera, stuff to the illegal immigration and abortion. He's never met a sin he didn't like. Are we talking about the same priest, Father?
that'd be the guy. You know, I think at his prayer at the National DNC, something like that, he did throw in abortion, but it was a more in a seamless garment sort of thing. Instead of just standing up there and saying, do you know Mother Teresa did this? She went to I don't know, was it a prayer breakfast? And there she said words to the effect that any a country that thinks it's okay to murder its babies is like in bad shape. And the whole
Right.
place stood up and applauded. And you know who didn't stand up? Four people. Bill and Hillary Clinton and Al and Tipper Gore sat there stone faced while the whole crowd stood up and applauded. What does that tell you? What does it tell you? That's all you need to know. That one picture. Anyway, so Martin organized. He incited. He says he did, right? But I saw Twitter's tweet. I guess somebody people sent me where he and his minions encouraged their other minions to immediately hammer Bishop Callahan and the diocese and my office with just vile, evil hate stuff. And not, yeah. And so initially, there was this movement to just hate. Haters will hate no matter what you do. But then when people of faith found out, they have overwhelmed me and as well as the diocese with mails of support, uh, expressing, because they sent me copies. Many of them have sent me copies of what they sent to Bishop. Uh, Letters of support and real kindness, prayers, masses, and all that sort of stuff. Um, so that's why Bishop had to say what he said. But then in the end, I think he said something to the effect of that there was manner and tone. Well, like I say, listen, you want to hear about manner and tone? Go watch One Single Baby being use those forceps, ripping it limb from limb, and then come talk to me about tone. And this whole business about dialogue, baloney. We've been dialoguing for 47 years, and there's still a 10,000 every Saturday ripping them limb from limb. And so don't talk to me
Precisely.
about what's that?
I said precisely.
Yeah,
No, it's
the businessman speak.
so the tone is not the issue. If he if as he says he agrees with your message that what you taught is truth, then I don't see, and I don't think the 40,000 people who liked your video, that
Yeah,
first video, I don't
yeah.
think they see why the tone becomes the point.
They
Um,
actually like the tone, by the way. Okay. It also LifeSite delivered 70,000 signatures. They gave me one too. It's a massive, thick book of all these signatures for the petition saying we like what he's saying. We want to hear what he's saying. He's feeding us the truth of the faith. So
It's refreshing, I think, for people to
it,
hear a minister just stand up and take it to the chin and just say, "Look, this is the truth. You don't have to like it, but there you go."
yeah,
Now, your bishop, again, he while he had to concede that what you were saying was true, he had to take exception with your tone.
yeah.
You have received some really strong support from Bishop Strickland in Tyler, Texas, who is a uh, perhaps the conservative bishop in the United States of America. I imagine there are other conservative bishops, but Bishop Strickland really probably leads the pack, at least in my estimation. Uh, what has Bishop Strickland had to say about your videos?
We had we texted a few times. I certainly thanked him personally. I got to appear on one of his shows for an hour, and I think I'm supposed to do it again here in the near future. Very supportive, very just completely supportive. See, there's nothing not to support, so everybody should be behind me. And those that aren't behind me, there's a problem. Uh, he's been very. I think I jokingly said something to the effect of, well, or he said it, or somehow the question was, well, Father Altman can come down to Tyler, Texas. He gets booted out of lacrosse. I don't think that's going to happen, but the fact is, uh, there are many good bishops walking a fine line because they're afraid of the left doing what the left does best, which is hammer those who speak the truth. Uh, so yeah, I have nothing but praise for Bishop. Bishop Strickland is the one bishop that I saw during this whole lockdown. He said to the priests of the world, "You get out there and you listen to confession. You make sure these people receive the sacrament so that they're in a state of grace." So I have nothing but praise for Bishop Strickland.
Exactly. So, Father, you mentioned earlier that this is not merely a Catholic issue. I mean, obviously, you address it from a Catholic perspective because you're a Catholic priest dealing with liberal Catholic bishops and other liberal Catholic priests
And
and liberal Catholic faithful. I don't know that. Okay, that's a misnomer. Liberal people who would call themselves faithful Catholics. But this
and
isn't really a Catholic issue. This is a Christian issue, whether we're talking about someone who is um, a Protestant Christian or an Eastern Orthodox or Catholic. This
yeah,
is one of those issues that every person who calls themselves by the name of Christ should see eye to eye on.
right.
And they're not. So we have these, and it's not just in Catholicism. You see many liberal Protestants. There are entire liberal denominations of Protestantism that are fine with abortion. They're fine with
Yeah,
homosexual marriage. They're fine with all of these other things that are contrary to the truth. So this is not merely a Catholic issue. Um, how many why is it, I guess, that a conservative Baptist minister, a conservative Methodist minister, a conservative whatever minister can stand up and say what you've said and not take the flack that you've taken as a Catholic priest?
I think that Protestant churches are less universal. Yeah, they're less one. We have the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, which is supposed to be one around the world. So Canadian bishops can't disagree with American bishops. It can't be true in Canada but false in America and vice versa. So whereas I think in the Baptist denominations, two down the street from each other can maybe disagree on some kind of fundamental issues. I mean, you can fact check me on this, but I think there's three major groups of Lutherans in this country. You have the Wisconsin Synod, the Missouri Synod, and the ELCAs, I think they're called. And one of them might be the Wisconsin is thinks the other synods are all going to hell. To say nothing about any other Christian denomination or the Catholic Church. So
Right. So I guess your point is that because the Catholic Church is, I guess, on one point, because the Catholic Church is more monolithic than Protestantism is, and then also because within Protestantism, if a particular denomination goes liberal, well, it's its own denomination. You could even have a very similar denomination that theologically is on the same page, but so within Catholicism, though, as we have been infiltrated, or the Catholic Church has seen this infiltration of liberalism that Dr. Taylor Marshall talks about in his book. That what Catholics see is that when a Catholic priest stands up and stands up for conservative Christian values, that he's basically laying a path for his own destruction.
which what does that say then? If that's true, what would that say about the hierarchy, the portion of hierarchy that are not necessarily being orthodox, if they're ripping on me for simply speaking the truth? And I have to, commend. I like Bishop Callahan. Not that my liking him makes any difference to whatever he should do as a bishop for a diocese, but um, the fact of the matter is he does speak the truth. He recognizes the truth for what it is, being unchanged, unchangeable, and so he even said that undeniably. It wasn't even like there was equivocation here. Undeniably, I spoke the truth. So, what does that say about those who would criticize me as not speaking the truth? Because there are some, obviously, the seamless garment crowd, for
Right.
instance. The what it seems like, I think there's about 256 active bishops in the country last time I checked. Then there's a bunch that are retired, but that's how many that are active. If it's a one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, all 256 should be on the same page on the 5 non-negotiables, period, the end. And so should every single priest. There's like 37,000 something in the United States. Every single one of us should be on the same page and speaking the same truth. Uh, so the problem is that nobody has done so. Yeah, with rare exception. Apparently now I am. I wouldn't have known that, by the way. I always assume that we're all speaking the same truth because there is one truth. And so I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked by this, the whole uproar about it, because, like I said, since when is speaking the truth characterized as courage? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Um,
Precise. Father, we've got about 30 seconds left, but
okay, yeah,
I'll agree with you that it should never be a headline that a minister of Christ has spoken the truth. That should not be newsworthy.
right,
Is there anything in the last few seconds that you'd like to add about sort of where we go from here as a nation
right.
with the increase of liberalism and the fact that a man like Joe Biden, who is not true even to his own religion, can even be running for president, that people take that seriously?
Yeah, do you know he's had problems with the truth his entire 47 years. We discovered that when he lied, he plagiarized early on. Uh, yeah, he's a problem with the truth. But that doesn't matter to people, to the left, because they just end justifies the means. They just want him up there because he's going to support their left-wing communist socialist agenda, their diabolically evil, godless agenda. And you see that actually in the hypocrisy of these Supreme Court hearings, because they would not listen. The Democrats would not be complaining about Amy Coney Barrett if she sided with them on these issues. It's all about politics, and it's just hypocrisy for them to pretend otherwise.
Well, Father, thank you for joining us, and thank you for standing up and fighting the good fight. God bless
God
you,
bless
and
you all. Thank you.
keep up the good work.